this is big shit. This is no longer about a paycheck every couple of weeks getting paid a little bit of money for your time. This is much bigger than that, right? This is breaking generations of curses, generations of poverty, generations of scarcity. There's a lot going on a very, very deep level that you are consciously choosing to like overcome. And that's really, really hard. Like this should be hard. You should be emotional.
That felt really beautiful, B. Like you really are the heart of Enagic. And how lucky are we for this man to literally be our direct upline? Like pop in the chat, gratitude, 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 gratitude. Like let this man feel your energy, your gratitude, your heart. Balazs, I'm so grateful that you're joining us. I just wanted to say thank you. And thank you for committing to serving us today, because I know that you get pulled 1,000,001 directions. And, I feel really honored that you said yes to dropping into your service. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's great to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Amazing. Good to see all your faces. How's everybody doing today? It's midday for you. It's after dinner for me, but we'll make it happen regardless, right? It's a global time zone, 24/7 type of business. So let's make it happen. Thanks for all the love in the chat. Thanks for having me out here. Are we ready to kind of dive right in? Or is there anything else you want to share, Talia?
No, all you, legend. All you.
Cool. So I heard that you guys are doing a 90-day sprint, which is super, super exciting. And you guys got about 30 days to go. That's right. And I heard a little bit about what Talia was talking about. And it's this idea around just committing to a new level, committing to a new standard. For most people, a 90-day run initially, if it's one of the first ones you've ever done, or it is the very first one you ever done, it's really about reestablishing your priorities, right? It's being aware of the choices that you make on a daily basis that are either getting you closer to where you want to go or getting you away from what you say you want. And I think until someone does a 90-day sprint, the self-awareness is typically limited because you just don't realize how much time you waste scrolling, how casual you are, how slow you are to get ready, or how you procrastinate on certain things. And I think that when you invest into yourself, when you invest into this business, we all have the right intentions. I don't think anybody comes into this business like with the intention of being lazy or an intention of procrastinating or delaying their goals. No one has that intention. I think that everybody has some level of awareness to go, no, I want this. I invested this money. I'm a part of this community. I see the training. I know this is a proven system, a proven business. It's been around 50 years. We have the support. We have the mentorship. I think all of you are smart enough and have the self-awareness to recognize this right from the beginning. But what ends up happening to so many people is that their level of prioritization is out of balance. It's out of sequence. And I think that if you pay really close attention to how you operate, there's so much wisdom you can gain just from self-reflection. Like how often do you say to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go there, I'm going to build my business. And then the end of the day comes and you're like, fuck, I didn't really do any of that shit today. Am I right? Put a 1 in the chat if you can relate to this. So there's a whole aspect of, you know what you should do, right? You know where to go for support. You know where to go for training. It's not hard. It's quite simple, but it's actually just following our own orders, right? Because what happens is that most of us are more committed to other people's schedules. If you have an appointment with the doctor, how often do you miss that appointment? Or are you there on time, right? If you're taking your car in for a service, are you there on time? If you got to go pick up your kids or do something for the kids, are you there on time? But when it's time to show up for you, how often do you procrastinate or say no or make an excuse or do it tomorrow? People do not honor themselves enough in the business. So when we're talking about a 90-day sprint, it's actually like holding up a mirror for 90 days, and every day you have to be accountable. And most people are not used to that level of accountability because no one's held up the mirror like this ever in their lives. And maybe you had a strict boss or something like that you were afraid of, and you always did your best. You didn't want to get fired. But as soon as you start thinking about legacy income, leaving a legacy for your kids, this is big shit. This is no longer about a paycheck every couple of weeks getting paid a little bit of money for your time. This is much bigger than that, right? This is breaking generations of curses, generations of poverty, generations of scarcity. There's a lot going on a very, very deep level that you are consciously choosing to overcome. And that's really, really hard. This should be hard. You should be emotional. You should be tearing up and crying and dealing with a lot of stuff regularly. That is completely normal. So when I think that you look at your awareness in a 90-day sprint, you very quickly recognize the bad habits, the maybe not the best choices, how you're prioritizing instant gratification or really feeling too much into I don't feel like it, so I won't, as opposed to I don't feel like it, but I still will. And I'll be completely honest with you guys. I don't usually do calls at this hour. And 5 minutes ago, I didn't feel like doing this call. My body did not feel like doing this call. Now that I'm here, I'm very happy that I'm here. And I've already gotten past that feeling of resistance, that feeling of exhaustion, that feeling that I've had a long day. I'm already long past that now. But right before this call, I felt it. And I'm sure you feel that too. When you're going to go do ads or you're going to go onto a training call, you're like, fuck, I don't want to do this. But do you give into that? Do you actually cancel? Do you actually not show up? Because there are some people, I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but there are some people that would have messaged Talia and said, sorry, Tal, can't make it today. Can we reschedule? There are people that do that because they felt those same feelings of, I don't really want to. And then they bail, right? Or the friend that says, oh, I'll hang out with you for dinner on Friday night and then bails. Right? You know these people. But if you do not feel like going and doing the thing, and then let's say it's a friend and you want to go for dinner and you actually show up for dinner, you probably have a great night after a few minutes of arriving, right? You get over that shit. So that's very much how your business works too. So in a 90-day sprint, what I think that all of you need to really recognize is that how small you have been playing and how much more you're capable of. And there's no such thing as perfect. Nobody has a perfect 90 days in anything. There's no perfect 90-day sprint where you're just on your A game for 90 days, 24/7. It's not possible. But because you're aware and you make those micro adjustments each day, you will drastically improve from the standards you held for yourself prior to the commitment. Does that make sense? So what will typically happen for a lot of people is they go, I was operating here, I raised my standards for 90 days, and then when you kind of tone it down a little bit, tone it down 20%, you're still 50% more productive than prior to the 90 days. And if you continue to do this throughout your career, what ends up happening is your capacity for business, your capacity for handling large teams and being a leader, it expands. You have to make the capacity expand so it becomes your new normal. And I'll give you another example of this that I experienced in the last little while. It was with my podcast. When I first started the podcast, I didn't think that I had the capacity for a podcast. I was like, man, I got too much going on, all the excuses in the book, but I really wanted to do it. And the first little while, was just like, oh man, it's this other thing that kept coming up on my calendar. I'm like, oh man, and whatever. And now I have expanded to that, to just be it's completely normal. I still have some challenges with it occasionally, but it has now been standardized. So what I think you guys really need to think about in your businesses is how you can raise the standard and then maintain that as your new normal. And so when you do a 90-day sprint next time, you're not going back to the pre-90-day sprint level of standards you had before this one. You're actually taking it from that 80%, bumping it up to 120%, and then you tone it back down to 100%. And you're constantly expanding your capacity over time because that is necessary for you to be a leader of a big team, right? So at every level, we always have to deal with certain challenges to expand ourselves to the next level, or else we do not have capacity to hold that space, hold that energy, right? Like Talia introduced me, which is really, really nice of her to say, this idea of like being the heart of Enagic. That has been a progressive thing, and it's not easy, you know? And not everybody is going to agree with that statement, but like I feel it. I do really feel like I lead with the heart first, and I try to come from a place of expansion. So you need to do the same thing. And you're not going to go from 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A to the expansion of a -3 overnight. It will be a progressive thing. It's like progressive overload when you go to the gym. To build muscle, you have to continue to progressively overload the muscle. You will not go from, curling 5 pounds to curling 75 pounds. But over the course of 3, 4, 5 years, you can eventually work up to a much bigger capacity for the muscle to be able to handle. And that works the same way with our mindset, our business, our skill set, our leadership. It's all connected. So when we look at what you guys are looking to achieve, I think one of the things that has been the most helpful for me is actually start with the end in mind. Reverse engineer where I want to be. So right now, all of you have a desire of something. I don't know exactly what it is, but if you want, pop it in the chat. Maybe it's income, maybe it's lifestyle, maybe it's freedom, maybe it's quitting your job, maybe it's a certain level in the business, like a certain rank. But all of you set out to achieve something at the beginning of the 90 days, right? But what you typically may not realize is that the 90 days themselves it's not the end goal. The 90 days themselves are a catalyst. And so there's a guy like Eric Worre that I'm sure you've heard of before. Eric Worre, I believe, if I remember correctly, he's done like 6 or 7 90-day sprints in like a 20-year career that made him like $20 million in the industry. 6 or 7. So if you do the math on that, that's not even 2 years total of sprinting in 20 years. That made him $20 million because each time the 90-day sprint was so intense, he gave it everything he had. It was like a rocket ship taking off in his business, and then that momentum sustained itself long after he personally stopped. I'm sure people in his downline of his companies that he was in, they did many more 90-day sprints than he did, but he personally committed to only 6 or 7 in 20 years. So that's how significant what you're actually working on right now. That's how big of a deal it is. So imagine like 10 years from now or 20 years from now, you're a multimillionaire, -5, built this incredible legacy with Enagic, and you're remembering the time now. Remember that time, man, I did that 90-day sprint. I gave it everything I had, and that jump-started everything. That was the catalyst. That started the momentum. How would that feel for you? Do you think that's bigger than the initial goal you have for this 90 days when you realize the compound effect of your actions right now? There's residual impact connected to the way that you're showing up. So every single day when you're like, I know I'm doing a 90-day sprint, but I'm going to stop a little bit earlier than I said I would. I'm going to do a little bit less than I said I would. I'm going to do less calls, less ads, less follow-up. It's fine. I had a long day. That's what you're sacrificing. You're sacrificing that long-term tailwind of the action you're taking. So act accordingly, right? I think that for me, looking back, like now, right, where I'm at in my life today, my son's coming in 4 or 5 weeks. I've been very reflective on who I am as a man, who I am as a person. I'm actually super grateful that I'm going to be turning 39 this year, and I'm having my son later in life than a lot of people because I feel like I'm more ready to hold that energy of dad without being a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it almost feels a little weird as like, if I was way younger, I'd be like, I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. But now I feel like much more ready from that wisdom side of things. So I've been really reflective on this stuff. But the actions that I took 11 years ago was in preparation to be a dad. So those times where it was difficult, those times where things didn't go my way, those times when I had a big leader who promised to get started with me and I saw the vision of, hundreds or thousands of people joining because this person had that kind of influence and it never worked out, and how heartbreaking that was and how difficult that was to really man, I felt like this close. It was like the lottery ticket numbers you're reading and then they're all right. And you're like, oh my God, I won. And then the last one is one number off. And you're like, no, so close. But so close doesn't count. So close doesn't count, guys. When it comes to legacy, when it comes to what you leave for your family, if you try to explain that to your kids and be like, Daddy was so close to making it happen, but he didn't. Does that mean anything? Does that matter? You know what I mean? If you come second place when you're building a legacy, it does not matter. It does not count. So you have to go all the way. You have to do it all the way to the end. You have to actually achieve it. You can't come close to achieving it. Does that make sense? You can't be a 682-2 with 17 sales to go on dash 3 and then everything falls apart. I was so close to legacy. Nope, you didn't do it. You might as well be a 1A. You know what I mean? Like 1A and 17 sales off is still the same outcome. You're still not dash 3. So therefore, what are we going to say about that? So I think that when you think about it from this place and you bring that back into your daily way that you show up, I think that will help you a lot with not throwing in the towel, right? That one more call. When you're tired, when you're exhausted, when you can't do it, do one more call. You know what I mean? When you're so frustrated filming your ads and you're like, man, I can't even say my name without fucking it up, do another ad before you stop. Have that one more mentality, because sometimes it's that last call, it's that last ad that ends up being the breakthrough, that ends up being the call that changes your life with the power of one. So that's the mentality, is like, just do a little more, man. Really leave it all out there. And I'll tell you another quick story. So last week, we were introducing this concept around GPM base. It's been a little seed of mine for a couple of years that was very slow to come to life, and it was really stressing me out, because I'm like, it just wanted to burst. I wanted to share it at convention with everybody, and I just kept it quiet. And it was like a secret that kind of drives you a little bit mad. My wife is super pregnant. All the ladies on the call who've been pregnant know what that feeling is like. I don't know what it's like, but I mean, I can see, what experience she's having and try my best to understand. But she's super pregnant and getting more pregnant by the day until my son is born. And she's literally saying to me, Balazs, I don't think this is a good time, for you to be launching this. You got so much going on. I need you more than ever. We have a baby girl. She needs you, all this kind of stuff. And while I heard what she was saying and while I agreed to a certain extent, I said, babe, listen, there is no perfect time. I've literally been delaying already for so long. And if I don't do it now, I won't do it before he's born. I won't do it after he's born, because then there'll be other stuff going on. Then we're into 2025. I still won't do it. Then we're in 2025 summer. And so when am I going to do it? There is no perfect time. And I said, this is what we're going to do. This week is going to be intense. And I'm going to just sacrifice some sleep, and we're going to get it done. Last week was super crazy for me, all right? And actually, I think I saw Shar on the chat here. Shar happened to be in town. She reached out. And I was like, we gotta have the girls hang out, right? We got to make it work. So that was the day before my wife's birthday. We were actually running around town, getting balloons, getting presents, doing all this stuff for her. And we fit in this couple hours which was awesome, by the way. So not guilt tripping, or I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, even when I felt like there was no time left, we still made some extra time for that, and it all worked out okay. I probably cut back on sleep 5.5 hours. I typically sleep 7.5, 8 hours. I was so exhausted. My eyes were literally crashing by the end of the week. But the reason I'm sharing you is this. We had an amazing birthday for my wife. Okay, she loved it. She felt special. We went, did our best to really make her feel loved. And between Valentina and I, we pulled it off, and it was great. I slept 9.5 hours Sunday night. Literally, the week was over and I crashed. When I woke up Monday morning, you know what I felt? I felt joy. I felt fulfillment. I felt accomplished, because I put it all in 1 week. I put a month's worth of stuff in a week. And that is literally the energy and the feeling that you have in a 90-day sprint. That is the energy you need to hold. Is that, man, this is unreasonable. It's illogical. It doesn't make sense. I don't think I can do it. I'm too tired. I'm too this. I'm too hungry. I'm too whatever. But you do it anyways. And then what ends up happening is day after day after day, you realize, I can do it, man. Why do I keep telling myself I can't do it when I keep proving myself wrong that in fact I can? And that I can catch up on sleep? Because really, guys, we're very spoiled if we think about it, right? We're spoiled in first world when it comes to being hungry. You're not fucking hungry. You just haven't ate in 2 hours. That's not hunger. You're not tired because you didn't get an hour of rest. That's not fucking tired. Try being in the Navy or the Army where they don't sleep for days at a time because bombs are going off. That's fucking tired. So all of a sudden we have this new awareness to realize that our comforts are actually so far from our maximum, right? So far from what we can really truly handle. And a 90-day sprint will expose this. And then you realize, you know what? If I really want this so bad, if I really say that I want to be a 6A by the end of November so I can go get celebrated by the larger community on the yacht or the whatever, then I better act like it. You know what I mean? I better act like it right now, because you cannot keep all the comforts and also expand to where you want to go. Those two things don't come hand in hand. And when we talk about sacrifice, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about like, man, I missed out on the things that I could have done. I didn't get enough sleep. I was hungry. I was on calls, whatever. But you know what? Now I'm fucking 6A 2-3 and everyone else is still comfortable and they're still not. That's the difference. So for me, I paid this price years and years and years before because I didn't know when it was going to happen, right? I literally had this feeling of like, we could have a kid at any time. So I better act like it's happening soon. And it just happened to be 7 years later after I started Enagic that it happened for us for different reasons. But I didn't know that at the time, right? Like it could have been a year, it could have been 3 years, it could have been whatever. It just happened to work out like that. So I had that urgency. And the other urgency that I created in my mind was that I felt like there was this tipping scale for Enagic that could happen at any point. With the power of social media, with the power of podcasts, with the power of interviews, with the power of media, at any point, someone who is very influential could happen to just endorse Enagic, right? And things blow up. Like we become order takers and, these people that are looking at you like you're crazy all of a sudden flip and go, wait a second, maybe I need one of those things. And next thing you know, we're taking calls and being like K8s and selling stuff or whatever. So I genuinely believe, and I still believe that to this day, that at any moment this could happen. And so when I found out that 6A2-3 is where the company starts profit sharing, so that literally means that it doesn't matter where the sales happen in the whole company, you get a piece of that. In my head, I was like, dude, I got to get to that level before Oprah Winfrey goes on her fucking talk show and says, you got to get a K8, you get a K8, you get a K8, you get a K8 in her audience or whatever. And next thing you know, this thing starts to scale, So I created these mind games, these hypothetical scenarios that I can't quantify, I can't prove, I can't, bet money that it's going to happen. But if I believe it enough, with enough conviction, with enough certainty, that the possibility of what I'm saying is very real. Will it happen? I don't know. But is the possibility of what I'm saying realistic? Like, do you think that? Because when you actually look at other examples of other products that have been on something like the Oprah show, I don't even know if she's popular anymore, but whatever, I'm out of touch. I don't watch TV. But anyways, back in the day when I started Enagic, it was a pretty popular show at the time. So the point is that you don't know, right? Because people on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or these big shows, they go on there with their idea, their invention, their creation, and they turn into a multi-7, 8-figure business overnight because of the endorsement they got on the show. So the idea of what I'm explaining, the possibility of it is very real. And so I believe this to my core to drive me to take action and get shit done. Does that make sense for you guys? So you need to think about your business in a similar way And that could be at a 30-day window. It could be at a 3-year window. It could be in a 30-year window. It really just depends on who you are, how old you are, what your goals are. Are you like before you have kids? Do you already have kids? Are your kids old and moved out of house? Like everybody has different reasons for why they're here and what they're looking to create. So you have to make sure that your deep burning desire around that motivation comes from something that truly actually drives you. It won't work the same way for you to do what I did because we're not living the same lives, right? So what does that actually look like for you is going to be the reason why you step out of your standards and raise the bar and actually look back and go, wow, I've been playing so small. And most of us can all say that. And even me, often I'm like, Balazs, you're playing too fucking small. Too small. Doesn't matter what level I'm at. Like, you could do more. You're ready to expand. You're ready to grow. You're not doing enough. And by doing, I don't necessarily mean trading my time for it. I mean, like, I'm not thinking big enough. I'm not solving problems big enough. I'm not hiring the right people to help me achieve the things that I want to do. You know, there's levels when it comes to like doing enough. I don't mean personally doing it. I mean just like levels of solving things. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much what I wanted to share, and I can pause there, do a little Q&A or bounce it off you, Talia, if there's anything that I'm talking about you want me to go deeper, but I didn't want to just riff off the whole hour until you gave me some feedback on stuff, and then I can continue.
That was so incredibly good. Just was on here taking notes after notes after notes. I think the biggest thing that stands out, B, that I would love for you to maybe just speak a little deeper on is really how have you held yourself to a standard after 10, 12 years of just staying really solidly? Because what I see in this container is like everyone's doing their thing, everyone's showing up, especially to these weekly calls because there's energy around them, right? But when it's all said and done and everyone hops off, how do you hold that standard of yourself to continue to stay consistent in your vision? Can you just speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of knowing I'm worth it, knowing my family's worth it, and knowing all of you are worth it. It's just a combination of all of those things mattering so much to me that it really does feel like a duty and an obligation. Because once you're on the other side of your problems, once you're on the other side of the money struggle, the time freedom struggle, the level of experiences and joy that I've been able to live, you truly feel like you have some kind of cheat code. Like I think about this a lot when I just go out in society and I see something as like, technically, right? Like, not to sound like I'm better than anyone, because I don't believe that. But statistically speaking, according to the numbers, according to statistics, I'm 0.01% of the population of the planet from a financial standpoint. And that's not even factoring in the time freedom, the fulfillment, the community, the joy, the impact, all these other things that are probably even worth more in terms of that like ideal calculation of a well-lived life than just the financial data. So as I go around society and I see these examples, it just reminds me like, I got to give back, man. I got to do my best to give this to more people. And so it very much is more around a mission of cause, of contribution, of giving back that drives me to this day. And I do feel like we have found something very, very special with Enagic and all of us, and that we are destined to meet in this way. I don't think there's any accidents in the community of like how you stumbled across, whatever you stumbled across to be here. Every time I meet you guys in person or whatever, I'm just like, this is my family. Like, this is like so special to me. So that's a big piece of why I'm so passionate about continuing the vision. And I also believe like I'm a loyal guy. So it's kind of like when you're with a partner, right? It's like you're married to someone. Let's say I've been with Margaret many, many years, over, I don't even know anymore. It's like lifetimes, it feels like. So it's just like a number, like 15 years. I don't even know. It's a long, long time. But it's like, it's the same thing. It's like, well, why do you continue to be devoted to your partner? Like, why haven't you lost interest? Why haven't you just throw her to the side, or vice versa? She, throws me to the sides. Like, why do those long relationships last? Because they continue to choose their partner. They continue to invest their time, their energy to improve it, to grow, to, do these types of things. And I feel the same way in my business. Is like, I still am in love with the business. I'm in love with what it provides people. I'm in love with the solution that it provided me with my health, because I can't imagine my life over the last 16 years suffering from the stomach issues that I had the prior 10. Like, I can't imagine my quality of life. Like, I would be grumpy, I would be in pain, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine being a dad feeling that kind of stuff, because I'd just be like an unpleasant person to be around. So all of these things I remember, I'm like, I know what it's like to be physically ill and not feel good. I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like to have debt collectors calling me. I know what it's like to look at price tags everywhere I go and make decisions only based on that. I know what it's like to basically say no every time someone invites me somewhere because I can't afford to go. Like, that quality of life sucks so badly. And I know some of you, or potentially some of you, might be in a similar spot today. And I'm trying to be like, yo, like, you can get out of this. Like, you can make that change. You're capable of that. And that's why I continue to try to innovate, think of new ways to get better results for you guys, to streamline things, to simplify things. And that's a lot of the reason why I'm launching the stuff that I'm launching right now, is just to basically, I look at how it's been, done, and I ask myself, how can we do it differently? How can we do it better? What are we missing? What are we not seeing? And that's where I spend the majority of my time. Like, if I'm not thinking about my family or my wife or my kids, like, that's what's going on up here, is pondering and contemplating and and like, you know what I mean? Like, using ChatGPT to try to like understand the universe and shit. Like, that's where I'm at. And then I try to bring that back into what we do here and solve more problems. So yeah, I can never turn it off. I don't know. I don't know how else to answer that question, but I still genuinely feel like we're just getting started. It's super, super early. Even though we've had a good amount of success, like 300,000 units in GPM in 11 years, sounds really cool, sounds really exciting. But at the same time, I'm like, it's only 300,000 units. Like, there's like 8 billion people. Like, we're kind of just not doing much. Like, let's fucking go. Like, let's ramp this shit up, because if everybody started doing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 units in their groups, then we would start getting some serious traction, and I know that's coming, and I know it's around the corner in this next decade. So it just really inspires me. And the other side of it too, one last thought that just came to me is around this idea of like, all roads lead back to Enagic. And after being with the company for 11 years, I've seen very talented people, very successful people who have the potential to do different businesses or follow other passions and other pursuits and whatnot. And they've all come back at one point to Enagic. Most of them, I wouldn't say all, but a lot of them, after experiencing coaching and some other traditional business and some other MLM and Forex and crypto and whatever, it's all short-lived, right? And so it kind of reminds me of that, like, that woman in your life where, like, if you're an idiot and you cheat and you go here and you go have these like things on the side, and it's like this one woman has always been true to you, and you're like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, what are you doing? And so for me, that's how I feel with my relationship with Enagic, is like, no, I know this is the golden goose. Like, I know this is special. And the longer that I've stayed committed, the more times I've seen people leave, come back. And then every time they come back, they're the ones who are like, no, like, there's nothing else like this out there. And I'm like, yeah, I already knew that. Like, you have to go find out, like the parent, who tries to tell their kids, don't do that because you're going to burn yourself. The kid's like, oh yeah, mom, fucking still burns himself. Like, learn the hard way. It's kind of like that, right? So in my head, I'm like, you had to go find out for yourself. I already just knew this. So now welcome back, and like, don't fuck up again. Like, let's move on, So those are the things that I see. And you, if you're here long enough as well, and you continue to like have that same mentality of just keeping your head down, building upon everything that you're putting in, because you can only ever go forwards with Enagic, right? You can pause if you take a break, or you can go forwards. You cannot go backwards. And I think that's really important because life sometimes happens for different reasons. Maybe, just life in general can pull you away from stuff sometimes, but worst case scenario, you just pause your business and then you resume your business, as opposed to it all goes crumbling back to zero and rebuilding it. And I think that's really special. And Mr. Shiro's a genius for adding that one element into the comp plan and the business, because he understands that life is not a continuous, straightforward process, that you do have detours and you do have things that come up occasionally. But as long as you are unwavering to your devotion and your vision with this company, it will not, in my opinion, it will not go to waste. It will continue to support you as long as you stay loyal to it on your side of it. Then you're always going to keep going forward. So I'm really, really excited. And I think that I just still feel like there's so much more possibility available, that even though we do things in a streamlined way, until it becomes like a recipe where someone comes in and they just, make sales, or they crush it, or they rank up like that, like a fucking factory, I feel like we're not even close to cracking our potential of like how it can be. So while people are confused and asking questions and how do we this and how do we that, I'm like, man, we're so far away from fully being like dialed in that I'm trying to solve that so that people can come in and be like, I have no experience, still got results. Like, I don't know what fuck's going on, still got results. And like, that's my personal goal. Just for me, like, I'm not putting that on anyone else. Like, that's the level I'm holding myself to, so we can create that duplication. And I will continue to fight for that and do my best to build that, of course, with all of your help as well. But like, I'm doing it regardless, like that's literally what I'm focused on. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yes. Can I take a moment to just come back to your mirror starting out this call? And I think it's really powerful that you are such a huge mirror for all of us in the business, right? And so I just want to do this exercise with literally 60 plus of you on the call with me, okay? Can you all drop a word that comes to mind when you look at Balazs in what he is mirroring to you in your business right now? Like, what are the qualities that stand out of this man that, yes, you see, and of course you are B, but that you guys see in yourself, that you just get why he is where he is? Like, what is standing out for you? Put it in the chat, right? Because there really are, and again, I don't want to, smoke up your bum, B, but so many leaders in this space, there are so many people, but the thing that I think really stands out about you is it's just the integrity, it's the loyalty, it's the commitment, it's the consistency, it's like the deep devotion. And this is something I want you guys to feel, like deep gratitude. You make it bigger than you, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really what keeps you going. And I think that if a lot of us could really get that in today's call, that it's not about trying to be perfect in the biz. The days are not going to be perfect. Your years are not going to be perfect. But if you are committed to a bigger vision than you will stay in the long haul. Do you see all those words coming through, B?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you guys for sharing that. And that's exactly what it is. Like, when you think about the idea of starting something, right? Starting something is easy. You could start a diet, you could start a workout program, you can start a business, but finishing it is rare. And I think like finishing the vision is so rare that I want to be one of those rare people that set out to something that seems so impossible to achieve 11 years ago. And it still feels like a really grand, concept in and of itself. But I mean, like, we have gotten it to this point where if I look back then, I'm like, there's like 1% belief that we can do this. Like, that's where it usually starts, right? Very few people have 100% belief in the beginning. But even if you just have 1% belief, it's enough to start that seed to grow. And so in the beginning, I was like, man, like, everything's telling me that the odds are against me. They're like the likelihood of this happening, the possibilities, the probabilities are all against me. But there's this little tiny bit of me that's like, I think we can. Like, I think we can. I don't know how, but I think we can. And as the years have gone on, it has reinforced, Yes, we can, because now we're here. Yes, we in fact can, because now we're here. And I think that even for you guys right now, if you actually pause and take a look at your current life, whether you're making money in Enagic or not, whether you're at a certain level in the business or not, if you just pause and think to yourself that your current reality was once your dream, it doesn't matter where you are, but not that long ago, you wanted to live in a place that you currently live. Not that long ago, you wanted to be in a relationship with someone who loves you for who you are, and you might be in that right now. Not that long ago, you wanted to be a parent, and now you are. And so I think like when we actually look at our past and go, this is what I've always wanted, and now I have it, then what if I dreamt even bigger, and I know for a fact that I can have that too, because I just have a track record of already doing it. You know what I mean? So for me, this started so many years back when I did door-to-door sales. When I started having these micro goals and achieve them, I was like, whoa, so if I could do that, let's try this. And then I did it again. I'm like, holy shit, I did that too. And so it kept kind of inching up. So now talking about, you know, doing 30,000 units a month, or having people in the community doing $1 million months as the new $100,000 month in terms of standard in the community, I know it's going to happen, because at one time, the idea of having $100,000 months was like, are you fucking smoking crack, Balazs? Like, your family didn't make $100,000 in a year ever, in multiple years. What do you mean in a month? Now it's like, that's a bad month. Like, I would cry if I only made $100,000 in a month. I'd be like, what is happening? My business is burning to the ground. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just in terms of levels and standards, I wouldn't be happy. I'd be like, what the fuck just happened? I'm in decline. Like, let's fix stuff. But looking in the past, the idea of that seemed to be so unreasonably big and out of reach. And so I think that if we just actually look at that, where even if all we did right now is look at the idea of Enagic before you knew it was called Enagic, okay? So like, imagine you thinking about back in the day, you're at a job, your, you know, debts piling up, whatever the circumstances were, and you were praying in your mind, you were praying to God, or you were hoping and wishing, whatever you believe in, man, if only there was a business, if only there was a way out, if only there was a possibility for me to do X, Y, Z, right? And then a little while later, you discovered Enagic, and all of a sudden it had a name. It came to fruition. You're like, this is the thing, right? So even then you manifested it. Even then you found it, right? So now when we think about this like outlandish 90-day target that seems out of reach, of course you can. You've already proven it to yourself countless times that you can, right? But for whatever reason, when we keep thinking into the future, there's this level of doubt, or like, maybe not this time. It's like, well, what do you mean? Like, you've done it so many times already. So I'm at that place in my own journey, my own confidence, and my own like belief in myself, that if I want to get the crazy supercar, or if I want to have a yacht or a private jet or any materialistic shit, it doesn't even faze me anymore, because I'm like, that's too easy. It's literally around the corner. It will be in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, but it's right there. That doesn't even excite me as much as it used to, because I already know it's done. I already know it's coming. If I want it, I can have it. But when it comes to the business, it's more about like seeing the lives impacted, right? Like, what actually excites me the most is when I go to convention and there's a lineup of people who want to meet me, and I have 30 seconds to talk to you, and you tell me that your life has changed and this has happened. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, wow, are you serious? Like, it's just so special. And going in, like, that's part of the reason why with GPM Base, I don't mean to like keep plugging it or anything. I'm just really excited about it. But the reason why we created the wins and the testimonials and have this onboarding process is like, no, everybody shares one. You're not the exception. Like, everybody shares one, because you need to recognize that you have something to celebrate. You do have something that you're winning at. Big or small is irrelevant. And so it becomes this thing where when I'm in the lab and I'm cooking up something that I'm excited about, and I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I shouldn't be doing it, I just go scroll the wins, man. I'm like, fuck, there we go. I'm right back, like I'm right back to like, let's get it done, because this is what we're building. This is what we're creating. And part of what has happened to me over the last number of years is I didn't see enough of that, because it was segregated in other places. So like, I'm like, is anybody winning? Like, nobody's telling me, right? And then I go to convention and all of a sudden it's like, whoa. But I want that all the time. I want to be aware of that all the time. I want the community to see the impact all the time, every day. And that's part of the reason we're designing it the way it is like, let's have it front and center all the time for all of us. And that should get you fired up. That should get you motivated. Anyways, I'll stop there.
No, also don't ever apologize for plugging GPM. I know
I know, it's just
process right now. Please like share it, because also you know that everyone needs this in this business, so don't apologize.
No, I just don't mean to turn it into that, but I'm just saying, like, it has been this how do I put it? It's been this like rough idea, inside of myself. Like, I didn't know how it was going to be built, what it was going to turn into. I didn't even know what it was going to be called for the longest time. And so as it started to come together now, I just really want people to experience the intention. You know what I mean? I want people to really see how it makes a big shift in how we operate as a team, and that we can actually devote, like, I feel like there's so much wasted resources right now. There's so much redundancy. There's so much, repetition of the basics and the simplest stuff and answering the same question like a bajillion times. And it's like each person who asked the question deserves the answer. So it's not their fault for asking, but it is our fault for continuing to only give the answer in that specific way. Like, that is our fault as a leader, and I'm taking responsibility. So instead of us answering the same question over and over again, I want to systemize and streamline it. Like, no, this is where the question is. This is how you find it. This is where you go. And so that your leader and upline can spend more time with their kids, or they can spend more time prospecting or doing the things that they enjoy, rather than feeling this obligation to support people answering the same fucking questions over and over and over again. And it's like, I'm done. It's 2024. Like, let's fucking do this better. You know what I mean? So I'm just excited. I think it's going to be a game changer. It's already had a great, initial first impression for most people, and it's just the start. But I got so many more ideas that are cooking up. And one of the things that I realized about myself in the last few years is that I was on, my leadership became indirect, and it was fine to a certain extent. Like, even now, like, I'm a guest speaker here, and I love doing this stuff. But I don't have a direct impact on, like, the videos that you guys see or how it's set up or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just like, you do it your way. It's fine. Good for you. And so there's this superpower that has been unleashed inside of myself recently in the last 6-7 months, where I have the idea and I can implement it in, like, within a day. And I haven't done that ever, like, in so long, where it's like, here's what I want to do, and by morning it's done, because I'll go in there in the lab and, like, got a little light on, and I'm just freaking, like writing copy and coding shit and saving it and stuff. And so I'm so excited about that, because the speed of execution has increased. But anyways, that's besides the point. I think that we can continue talking about, like, the impact of the 90 days if you want, and where everybody is at. How are you guys actually measuring your 90 days? Like, what are you actually focused on? We can talk about that kind of stuff if you want to get more into strategy or specifics, and we can go from there.
I think what would be beautiful, I really want to honor your time because I know it's evening. So can we have 10, 15 minutes more with you?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so what I would love to do, because I think this is really powerful for all of you guys, is possibly call 2 to 3 people forward, and allow them to ask you a question, and they can do maybe an interactive kind of momentous session with you. Would
Sure.
you be open to that?
Sure. I don't know if I could do 3-4 people in 15 minutes, but I can try. Yeah, you pick the person. Like, it doesn't matter to me.
All right. Well, the first person that drops a question in the chat will call forward.
Okay,
and
sweet.
I've said this a few times. If you guys have not put yourself forward in this 90-day run, you've not spoken, you've not, like, really done the fear piece and, like,
Lisa.
Let that be you. If we've heard from you before, amazing, but call yourself forward.
Lisa's very coachable. Question mark. You crack me up. Lisa. She's all serious and shit. She's like, you better pick me. I did it right. But I will answer this one real quick question while you guys figure out who's the actual chosen one. It's from Sita here. I'd love to know how you balance your biz and family life. That's a great question. I think that there is a misconception around balance. Everybody strives for balance, but the reality is that things are always out of balance because your priorities continue to shift. And the only way that you can make really big breakthroughs in your life to actually grow, whether that's in your health, fitness, whether that's in your business, whether that's a 90-day sprint or whatever, is to be out of balance for a temporary season of time. And so I think like when we're talking about leading up to me having another kid, for example, there are certain things that are out of balance right now in preparation for this chapter to start. And then my business will go down in terms of like balance, and my presence as a father and a husband will increase for, I don't know, a little while. Like with my daughter, it was about 18 months. And obviously those 18 months had a lot of different seasons within that. Like it wasn't all the same, but that was my devotion. That was my primary focus. And then I fit stuff in. So that's one example of don't be so hard on yourself specifically around lack of balance or feeling like guilt that there's not enough balance. Just make sure that it is agreed upon with those people in your life that you love, whether it's your spouse or your children, so everybody's on the same page. That's really important. And one of the strategies I can give you that you may or may not already be doing is I have a personal calendar and I have a business calendar that are interconnected in my Google Drive or my Google Calendar. And I'll talk with my wife first and find out when is family time, when is date night, when are we doing things with the kids or whatever it may be. And that goes in my calendar first. That time is blocked off. I put in my personal stuff too, like working out or, anything that I need to do for me. And then I build my business around the pockets of time left over. And that isn't always perfect balance in terms of time allocation, but at least it checks off the important boxes and nothing gets neglected or forgotten about, or I don't book my business stuff first. And then, my wife says, I need you for something, or we had plans for something. And I'm like, I can't, I got a call. I got this other stuff going on. And then it's like a catch-22 because technically I could have done that call some other time to still be available and present for what matters more. So that's something that I learned the hard way years ago, is that I would just be booking all the business stuff first. And then she's like, well, when is time left for me? So I ended up switching it to go, here, what time, is best for us first, and then filling in everything afterwards. And that's a tip for how to manage your personal life with your business life. But in terms of balance, like, in a 90-day sprint, there is no balance. You're basically going all in on the business. You're sacrificing entertainment. You're sacrificing, quantity with the family while making up for it in quality, and still being available in like an hour or two rather than 4 or 5 hours of like kind of like not being present or whatever, instead of working on your business. But what I've always done with sprints or business projects or whatever is I set a common goal with the family. And usually for us, it's experiences or a trip or something like this. So we'll say, we'll work really hard. Daddy's not going to be around as much as you're used to for this like month or 2 months or 3 months, but then we're going to go away for 3 weeks or go away for a month or go away for a week, and like catch up on all that quality time. And it also feels like a reward, like a trophy. It's like, we got this shit done, and now we have this epic like bucket list adventure. And by the end of that, it all balances back out, but it wasn't like daily balance. It was like a 4-month balance where everything kind of like recalibrates. So everybody needs to pick and choose what makes sense for them. But definitely don't aim for perfect balance while you're building your business, because otherwise you just won't get your business off the ground. Hey, what's going on, Natalie? How you doing? Are you the lucky winner? What's up? Let's chat. You even got an Okinawa shirt. You're ready to go. I love that.
Meeting you there as well. Thank you. I'm the one where the video didn't work and we had to shoot twice.
I do remember that. That gave me an extra curveball, but we made it happen, right?
Thank you so much. And thank you, Charles, for this opportunity. All right. Am I to ask a question? Was that the...
I think so, if you have one.
No. I guess I'll be clear on just where I'm at. So I'm at, to go into strategy, like you said, I'm at 54 units currently. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, I have got there hugely through my 2 Ukon renewals.
I haven't actually had a direct sale in over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through a 8-year relationship ending, and so I'm a solo mama now.
Mm.
Fucking hard, to be honest. And I could relate a lot to what you said around treating this like a business, like a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've done my absolute best to show up for myself, for my son, and I don't actually have any team. I'm built like everyone's gone. It's me now, which I think is perfect because I'm a new person.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm doing all the things. I've even started TikTok. I'm doing Instagram, Facebook. I guess you could say that's perhaps scattered. I don't know. I just don't know what my next thing is to get my next sale. I know it's a lot of lacking belief in myself, and I get you can't give me that. I don't know. I just guess I'll share that's where I'm at. And yeah, any wisdom you'd like to share on me too from here, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you can consider is combining so much of what you're going through with the business rather than keeping it separate. So, for example, I'm not sure who you're talking to in your ads or your content of who you're trying to attract, but I'm sure there's moms out there that are in a similar spot, feeling alone, feeling overwhelmed, juggling everything. And it's like, what if you just made like a girls club, not literally a girls club, but that idea of sisterhood or something like along those lines, where you come together to support each other of all the ups and downs of being like a single parent, but also partnering with them in the business too. So you end up almost like holding space to say, these are the things that can really help us based on the circumstances that we're currently in. And so obviously more income, more time freedom, more leverage, these things would be greatly beneficial to the juggling and wearing all the different hats that we have to wear. And so you can invite people in from an accountability standpoint of like, I got you, shoulder to cry on, hear you out as a sisterhood angle. But also in addition to that, I have this thing over here I can show you and teach you and include you in this other space and community and business and so on. So it ends up being kind of like both. And then that way you're hanging out with these people potentially locally or online on Zoom or something like that, and actually have an opportunity to share the personal stuff maybe at the beginning of the call or the end of the call, but also talk business. And I think that would give you a lot more simplicity in your life rather than trying to be like going through hell behind the scenes and then publicly like trying to be like promoting the business or something like that. It's like, just make it all one thing. Like, it's actually your life. So maybe that might help you. And then these other people who are thinking that they can't start a business because they're going through some shit right now, and when they're done going through it, then they'll do the business. Instead, be like, no. Start it now and go through it with me. You know what I mean? Like, go through the shit with me, but let's also learn these skills. Let's also make money. Let's also help people. Let's do it all at the same time. So maybe try that out if you haven't tried that yet.
I love that. Thank you. I haven't wanted to share that we've ended publicly. And so I've tried to like keep showing up, so as a personal brand, but like
you're out of alignment.
And it's only this week, if I'm honest, that I've started creating content that's more a little bit raw and real around it, but I haven't fully been like, I'm a solo mom. I've been like, I'm doing this for my son and I. And I think it's been quite powerful for me this week to show up more in that way. So I'll keep doing more of that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a hard transition, but like I said, if you lean into it and you realize that just as much as you need that support, even in the chat right here, you get hugs and love and hearts, and people are they're cheering for you, that you're going through your own journey and experiencing what you need to go through. So like, you can invite other people who don't have this into this space. Does that make sense? So like, this chat could be your own team chat. Obviously, this is the wider community and everyone here supports you and loves you, but you can actually curate the same type of experience for other moms who are in a similar spot. Maybe it's not fresh breakup or whatever, but they just might be a single mom that have been going through that alone, feeling lonely and all of that stuff, and be like, no, come in here. We get it. We understand, right? Make that your brand. And then if you grow out of that in the future and something changes, you can evolve the brand. You don't have to stay in this permanently when it's no longer in alignment in the future, but it feels and sounds like it is in alignment right now. And so I would lean into that. But there's nothing worse than feeling in a spot of desperation and then trying to pretend like it's something else online for your business, because that's just going to eat away at you. So I would, even if you're unsure, obviously I don't know the details, but even if you're not fully sure whether there's any possibility of getting back with the person or whatever, even if you aren't sure about that, you can literally say that too. Be like, at this time, things are undecided. I'm not saying that it is like that. I'm just saying, like, if that's part of the reason why you don't want to share, because you're like, there's this chance that maybe whatever, just say that now. It's like, we don't know where we're going to be in a year, but for now, this is what I'm going through, and I invite you in to go through it together. So that's my suggestion to you. And I think you'll have a lot of potential people that resonate with your message around like not being alone and having community, and having love and support, while also building something that helps others. You'll have a whole bunch of leads that are like interested, but until you frame it this way, they would have never even considered doing it now. They'll consider doing it when like rainbows and butterflies and the sunshine comes back out. And we all know that that's always kind of off in the distance a lot of the time. It's not happening in real time. So that's my suggestion. Hopefully that's helpful.
That really is. Thank you. I'm literally moving house at the moment. I'm sharing about how I'm moving house and how life has its ups and downs, but I'm not actually saying, and I'm fucking crying myself to sleep a lot right now, but I'm still getting up and doing the do, and we're still doing what we can to co-parent, and I'm still building a business. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure if I was that real without oversharing, because there's some stuff obviously that's for us.
Yeah. I think that's super inspiring.
Yeah.
Can I
ask one question that's strategy? I know you mentioned ads.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, get over it. But I can't do ads. I've been fully flagged, which is why I'm now going to TikTok. I came from Isagenix and went like way too hairy hard out. And I've even paid someone through TFE to try rectify my ads. I'm like fully banned. And because I am quite time poor with, not to be like poor me, but solo mum life and all the things, I really want to be able to do ads, but I actually can't. Do you have any person you'd recommend, or wisdom, or can I pay you or someone to like help me get my ads up and running? Because that would like change everything for me and myself.
The best tip that I could have is find a friend or family member that doesn't really give a shit about running ads, and just leverage their business manager through their personal account. So let's say, for example, you have cousin Johnny, and cousin Johnny's in construction and doesn't give a fuck about ads. Then you could say to Johnny, hey, listen, create a second Facebook profile because his name isn't flagged. So technically he could have Johnny personal, his real account, and then like a second Johnny Facebook account. That's still his name. He can still verify his ID, blah, 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 if he needs to. And then that second account is attached to a business manager that you have the logins for. So you still technically wouldn't see his private chats and his private info because it's like a dummy account, but it would allow you to open a business manager, attach your credit card. You would have to get all new credit cards, like a prepaid card or a PayPal account. It can't be tied to your name because that will still flag it. Even like a temporary phone number, like a burner number. These are all the things that Facebook now does, is like if you put your cell phone number over on Johnny's account, they know that it's your number, so that shit will get flagged. So you like get a dummy number, a prepaid card, set it all up, and then just be very compliant with your ads running it through Johnny's account. And that's the probably the fastest and simplest way to solve this issue. And it's also free as long as you have somebody in your life, a friend. It doesn't even have to be family, but somebody who's like, yeah, go for it. Like I'll never use business manager to run ads. So I don't even care if you get busted and it gets flagged one day. Like it is what it's all good. So that's how I would go about solving that. And I know many people have done that.
And I could be the face of Johnny though. How would that work?
Yeah, because in business manager, you can take a page. So what happens is you only need Johnny's account to open business manager. Business manager could be like an agency. they don't know whether it's an agency or you're just using it for your personal shit. Like they can't tell, right? It doesn't matter, because inside of a business manager, you can have multiple ad accounts, you can have multiple Facebook pages, you could be operating multiple businesses in one business manager. That's how it's set up. So in that business manager account, you would take your Facebook page, if you have one from before you got banned, with content on it and some followers and some likes, and you could reassign the page to be owned by the new business manager, not owned by you personally. And then you potentially don't even have to start a new Facebook page from scratch. You can just take over the ownership. That's one way to do it. So I think you'd be all right that way.
Yeah, I really want to be able to do that now during the 90 days versus starting slow and rebuilding on another page. So that.
And yeah, you could change your name too. Like you could go with some kind of like abbreviated name, or like a maiden name, or a different initial, or a different last name, like, you know, like a temporary.
And it picked me up. Like I got coached and tried a whole different name and number and everything. And I don't know if it was my photos or what, but it flagged me within 24 hours of trying to do it all.
Do an AI generated profile picture. maybe your features are like still resemble you, but it's not literally exactly your face to like have the algorithm flag you. So maybe just run it through one of those apps that give you like a AI profile picture, and maybe that sneaks through. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, she looks different. Okay, awesome. Hopefully that's helpful, guys. And it was nice chatting with you, and good luck to everything that you got going on.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
Why did I just put my face down?
What's up, Tal? You're back.
Can everyone just pour big love bombs on Bill? So you really are just a heart on legs, and I know you've even gone over. It's like post 8 your time. So thank you. Can everyone stay on for 5 minutes, because I want to do a real time recap. B, we're going to let you go.
Okay.
Real talk. We just love you. Thank you. I'm excited to let you know how many people are going 6A and above. And
you guys got this. Make it happen.
Yeah,
I'm excited for you all. And
kisses to Marg.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's very excited and also very pregnant. So it's it's a bittersweet last month or so. But yeah, I love you guys all so much. Thanks for having me. I hope that was valuable, and you got what you needed from this call. And go make your goals happen. Go finish that 90 days strong. You got 30 days left, which in the big grand scheme of things is not that much time, but it could really change a lot for you in the future with that residual effect that you can create with the momentum. So definitely take it seriously. Remember what's at stake, which is, in my opinion, everything. So handle yourself accordingly, and keep crushing it. Hit those goals, and we'll see you guys real soon, and definitely at the next event as well. All right? Thanks, Tal. Bye, everybody. Have a good night. Take care.